Hello, welcome back to Food Entertainment. For a film that everybody rants on, that I defend, and will continue to. And that would be 2008's Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. And also, might add, it's actually one of my favorite steelbook out of the collection. And that has no relevance to the movie itself. I just think that the imagery right here is a little bit better. I would say I don't mind the steelbook imagery for Raiders of the Lost Ark. That would be like a second one. It's like a draw between this steelbook and that one, in terms of the way it looks. Now, the guy at Films at Home said that there is no bonus material discs with the 7 hours of bonus material. That's in the regular 4K set versus the steelbook set which I'm reviewing. Obviously, he hates Kingdom of the Crystal Skull because I didn't even talk about that movie. And if he had looked into that steelbook and talked about Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, he would have discovered that the second disc in here is the 7+ hour bonus material disc that he claims is not in the set. This tells you sometimes people's hatred for a movie clouds their judgment, and that's why he didn't discover the disc, because he really doesn't like this movie. Man, I review movies on my channel that I despise and absolutely can't stand. That doesn't mean I'm not going to watch them. All right, we're the entertainers. People value our opinion. So, finish the job. All right, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. This film was shot in 2.4.1 widescreen format, because this one was actually received as an HD movie. It wasn't, a regular old film stock like the first 3 films. The plot of the film: Indiana Jones basically is an old man in this one. This film takes place in 1954. And after escaping from Russians who kidnapped him to find a mysterious object in the same warehouse, I might add, that the Ark of the Covenant resides in, a little Easter egg there, Bond discovers that his colleague, who was a former MI6 agent, is actually a double agent working for the Russians. And all of this makes it to the United States CIA and government officials, and they declare him a liability and try to destroy his life. He gets fired from being a professor of archaeology. And meanwhile all this is happening, he basically gets contacted from a biker kid who basically knows a fellow archaeologist who is missing, and his mom's being held for ransom, and needs Indiana Jones' help to save his mom and to help him save Indiana Jones' friend, who is being captured by the Russians. Which takes Indiana Jones pretty much to Peru and then eventually the Amazon. And his friend, of course, Oxley, played by the late John Hunt, has indeed been kidnapped from the Russians. And it all comes down to him. It comes down to Indiana Jones discovering that the mythology of the crystal skulls of the Mayans and the Amazonians basically proves the existence that all civilization are building blocks of how we live. We didn't learn on our own, but it was taught from interdimensional aliens. And that these crystal skulls represent a telepathic dimensional link for these aliens. And he finds out that his friend Oxley has been vegetized in a lot of ways from looking into the skull that they have possession of. And after he looks into the skull doesn't affect him because he has a superior and I guess stronger mind and willpower. The skull tells him to take the skull back to where it came from. Upon doing so, the Russians get what they want, and then of course that leads to them pretty much being disintegrated into an inner dimension. And we see, of course, one of these big-ass saucers, spaceship, UFO, whatever you want to call it, come out of the original Amazonian pyramid, or whatever that is. And the mythology about the crystal skull is basically this. A Spanish, what's the name? I forget the name of what these guys were called, but a gold-hungry Spanish explorer a few hundred, almost 1,000 years ago, was searching for this crystal skull because in Ecuador, because it would lead to the location of a city made of gold. We discovered that the Amazonian original dead language is gold meant knowledge, a city of knowledge. That's what they meant. And of course, we discovered that the biker kid's mom is Marion from Raiders of the Lost Ark. And surprise, surprise, this kid's Indiana Jones' son, and his name's actually Henry Jones III, so he has the same name as Indiana Jones. Now, there has always been a misconception that Shia LaBeouf, who plays Mutt Williams, whose name is actually Henry Jones III, was supposed to take over after Harrison Ford. That was never going to happen. Ever. That's why at the end of the film, you have Indiana Jones after marrying his mom, obviously. He tries to put on the hat, and Harrison Ford's character, obviously, this comes around, takes the hat, it's like, nah. So, it was never going to happen. So that's why there is an Indiana Jones 5 that's in production right now. Now, how are they going to make this movie make sense? Because Harrison Ford made Kingdom of the Crystal Skull in 2008 and is now 2021. And this film won't be down the pipeline to be released until 2022. This is what makes it weird. Indiana Jones 5, the next film, takes place almost 10 years to 12 years before the events of Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Rumor has it takes place during World War II, which is like 12 years before 1954, which is the year this film takes place in. Now let's talk about the quality. Obviously, this is going to be superior in every single way to the first three films, because it was made in 2008. So that means very good black levels, very good use of color spectrums, very vibrant, very well detailed. This is going to be way better, obviously, in every way, shape, and form. Also very clean. And what's cool, interesting and cool about this is the subsequent Blu-rays before this, and the DVDs before this always looked a little digitally bleeded. This looks like a film. It doesn't look like a digital bleed disc like those other ones. This looks like a film. So it is the best that this has ever been. Might even be better than it was in theaters for all I know. Now let's talk about the audio. The original sound mix or sound mixes, plural, for this movie was basically an HD versions of Dolby and DTS. So Dolby True HD and DTS HD were the original sound mixes for this movie. And there also was a Sony Dramatic Digital sound mix as well. So the transition from that to Dolby Atmos means you're going to have a lot going on all over the place. This is, in my opinion, definitely a demo-worthy. Definitely a demo-worthy 4K Blu-ray, in my opinion. Definitely. So, expect your sound system to get a big workout from this movie. Because it will. Very, very demo-worthy film. So if you want to showcase your 4K equipment in your Dolby Atmos system, this is definitely a type of movie you would do it with. And that's pretty much all I have to say about Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I hope you guys enjoyed my reviews of the Indiana Jones films. And like the other films, I did not approve this for children due to the elaborate adult violence and scary imagery, just like the PG-13 rating says in the film. And that's all.